You can't be manipulated by things that don't align with your true desires. If you don't know what you want, you'll end up accepting anything that comes your way. And that's where most people go wrong. The real power begins when you gain absolute clarity about your life, what you want in your relationships, your family, your health, your finances, and your future. Stop drifting through life like it's an accident. Decide what kind of life you actually want to live. And once you figure that out, dedicate every single day of your life to chasing it with intention and discipline. The passion and authority behind these words don't come from theory or something read in a book. They come from lived experience, from struggle, from having nothing and still choosing to rise. There were moments of hardship, of growing up without the ideal support system, without resources, without advantages, but none of that became an excuse. Instead, it became fuel. The shift happened the moment the mindset changed. From being a victim waiting for life to improve to becoming a person who takes full responsibility and works relentlessly to improve life themselves. Winners operate differently. It's hard to explain, but there's a pattern. Winners win because they build a mindset and culture around winning. If you constantly allow yourself to lose, to make excuses, to let others control your outcomes, that becomes your norm. But when you decide to win, when you create standards for yourself, everything begins to change. Winning spreads. It influences how you think, how you act, and who you surround yourself with. It's not always about having the perfect plan, resources, or structure. Sometimes it's simply about waking up every day and putting in the work with consistency and intensity. Progress builds momentum, and momentum builds belief. That belief takes you from small wins to bigger ones, even if nothing around you seems to change externally. The truth is, many people expect guarantees from others, but never hold themselves accountable. They demand results from jobs, businesses, or relationships, yet they avoid looking in the mirror and confronting their own lack of effort. Real growth begins when you take full ownership and admit when you've let yourself down. That level of honesty requires courage, but it's necessary. You have to set standards for yourself so high that regardless of the situation, whether you're being paid little or nothing, you still give your absolute best. That's self-respect. That's discipline. And if you're not living up to your own expectations, then you need to correct it, remove distractions, cut off habits that weaken you, and commit to becoming better. Excuses will always be available. Background, environment, lack of support, unfair circumstances, but none of them define your future unless you allow them to. Life may not be fair and challenges may never fully disappear, but your response to them is what determines your outcome. Waiting for perfect conditions or for someone to come and change your situation is a losing strategy. The reality is no one is coming. It's on you. You owe it to yourself to rise, to push, to fight for the life you want. Stop blaming others. Stop pointing fingers outward and start holding yourself accountable. Ask yourself what you didn't do, where you fell short, and how you can improve. Because at the end of the day, the only person who can truly stop you is you. And the moment you realize, that is the moment everything begins to change. Once you truly understand that you owe yourself effort, discipline, and growth, your entire perspective on life begins to shift. You stop waiting for motivation and start building habits that move you forward every single day. Motivation comes and goes, but commitment is what separates people who dream from people who achieve. When you wake up with purpose, even on the days you feel tired, discouraged, or overlooked, you still move. That's the difference. Most people only work when they feel like it, but winners work because they made a promise to themselves. They decided that their goals matter more than their temporary emotions. Think about how many people start strong but quit when things get uncomfortable. The moment the work gets hard, they slow down. The moment they face rejection, they step back. The moment life tests them, they begin questioning whether they are capable. But growth has always lived on the other side of discomfort. Every successful person you admire had moments where they felt doubt, fear, and pressure, but they didn't allow those feelings to control their actions. They understood something powerful. Consistency beats talent when talent refuses to work. That means you don't have to be the most gifted person in the room. You don't need to start with the most resources or the perfect environment. What you need is the willingness to show up again and again until progress becomes inevitable. When you commit to that mindset, small changes start happening. You begin to take your time more seriously. Instead of wasting hours on things that don't add value to your life, you start investing your time into learning, improving, and building. Your mornings become more intentional. Your conversations become more focused. Your decisions become more aligned with the person you want to become. And the beautiful thing about this transformation is that it doesn't require a dramatic overnight change. It's built through daily effort, one disciplined decision after another, one extra hour of focus, one more attempt when others stop trying. But here's something important to understand. The process will test you. There will be days when nobody notices your work. There will be moments when your progress feels slow, when it feels like you're giving everything and still not seeing results. This is where most people quit, but this is also where real winners are created. They continue even when the reward isn't immediate. They understand that success often grows quietly before it becomes visible. The foundation is being built in the dark, in the early mornings, in the late nights, in the moments when no one is clapping for you. Another thing that separates people who rise from people who stay stuck is responsibility. When something goes wrong, many people look for someone to blame. They point at circumstances, other people, or bad luck. But when you take full responsibility for your life, you gain power. Because if it's your responsibility, then it's also within your ability to improve it. That doesn't mean everything is your fault, but it means you refuse to let your situation control your future. Instead of asking why things are unfair, you start asking what you can do next. That shift alone can change everything. You also begin to understand the importance of standards. The way you treat your work, your time, and your commitments reflects the respect you have for yourself. If you say you're going to do something, you follow through. If you start a project, you give it your best effort. Not because someone is watching, but because that's the kind of person you've decided to become. People who achieve greatness don't wait for external validation. Their internal standards drive them. They don't need applause to work hard. They don't need recognition to stay consistent. They simply know who they are and what they are building. Over time, this mindset changes the people around you as well. When you become disciplined, focused, and committed, you attract others who think the same way. Your environment begins to shift because your energy shifts. People start noticing your work ethic. Opportunities begin to appear because you're prepared to handle them. Success often looks sudden from the outside, but in reality, it's the result of years of unseen effort and personal growth. However, it's also important to understand that the journey isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Too many people chase success just to impress someone else, to silence critics, or to seek approval. But real fulfillment comes when you build a life that aligns with your values and your vision. When you wake up knowing you are improving, contributing, and moving closer to the person you want to become, that's a powerful feeling. You have to remember that potential means nothing without action. Every person has the ability to improve their situation, but only a few are willing to do the work required. It takes discipline to say no to distractions. It takes courage to keep going when results are slow. It takes belief to trust that your effort will eventually pay off. But if you stay committed long enough, progress becomes undeniable. And here's the truth many people don't want to hear. The biggest competition you will ever face is the version of yourself that wants to stay comfortable. Comfort keeps people average. Comfort convinces people to delay their goals, to lower their standards, and to settle for less than they are capable of achieving. But growth requires discomfort. It requires you to challenge your habits, your mindset, and sometimes even the environment you're used to. When you push past that comfort zone, you start unlocking a different level of confidence. Eventually, you reach a point where discipline becomes part of your identity. You no longer struggle to do the work because it's simply who you are. You become someone who shows up prepared, someone who gives effort even when it's difficult, someone who takes ownership of their life. And once that identity is built, it becomes extremely difficult for obstacles to stop you. At the end of the day, the question always comes back to the same thing. What kind of life do you want to live? Because your daily actions are answering that question whether you realize it or not. Every decision you make either moves you closer to your goals or further away from them. So instead of waiting for the perfect moment, start now. Decide that you will no longer operate at half effort. Decide that you will hold yourself accountable. Decide that you will build the discipline required to reach your goals. Your future is shaped by what you do repeatedly, not occasionally. If you commit to improving even a little every day, those small efforts will eventually create massive change. You might not see it immediately, but the progress is happening. Keep going, keep pushing, keep working, because the life you want is built by the standards you set and the actions you take starting today.